Okay, I think we are exiled. Huh?
Yes, we're live.
We are live. Okay. Hello, everybody. Everybody and every soul. This is New Moksha Coffee, and today we will talk about pain. When I say about, we will talk about pain, I would like just to say how we came to that idea. A few days back, I asked Zoran, and Zoran is kinesiologist for almost 30 years, and he had thousands of sessions and people going through his hands. And I asked him if he had, how many clients he had without any issue, without any pain. And what was your answer?
Zero.
Almost nobody.
Exactly.
There was no people coming to you without the real reason, and the reason is always.
The reason is always pain or some sort of discomfort, and keep in mind that it doesn't have to be palpable on a physical level, because we human beings, we are by far much greater than this body. Okay, this body it is beautiful body. It is amazingly intelligent, but it forms approximately 8 to 10% of our whole being. So in its entirety, people come to see me because of that 8%, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is in the rest of the 92%, you know?
Yeah, I can say that there is maybe one group of people, I would call them seekers, the people which are aware that there is something more, so they would maybe come.
What puts you on that path, right? It puts you the pain. So the pain can be divided in many sections, or many ways. Let's say the most obvious one is the one with which we are intimately connected, and that is our body. So we have an intimate relationship with our body through nerves, and then when we experience the physical pain, we have to do something about it, right? Yeah. So I've been through many pains in my life, and when you were introducing this coffee, you didn't mention about your pain as well, right?
No. So, well, I need much more than one coffee.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So how you deal with this? The first thing actually is probably the most logical way is to understand what the pain is in its essence.
What is the pain? Yeah.
Okay. So the pain is excess of energy. Full stop. Right.
Okay.
So because the pain occurs, we feel it. So I was mentioning the pain related to the body. But there are other pains, emotional pain, mental pain. There's a spiritual pain. There's a pain of transformation. There's a pain of spiritual growth. There's a pain of seeking and not finding. There's many pains.
Of separation as well.
Pain of separation, many pains. Okay. So in essence, let's say, for example, you don't drink enough water, you will immediately get headache. Right. So one of the I'd say 80% of the cases for the physical pain, like the most common one, headaches, and all these different ones, 80% you can fix by drinking enough water. Okay, so pain in the physical body is a way of body telling you, communicating with you, and it cannot communicate if there is no energy. So the excess of pain that is created either on the meridian or on the neurological part leading to a particular part of the body is actually excess of energy. So by examining the excess of energy, we find the lack of energy, and the lack of energy is associated with the blockage. So unless we address the blockage, or for argument's sake, you can call that the cause, not the effect. The effect is let's say, headache, the cause is dehydration, for example. So the action then comes after that. I need to drink water, hydrate myself. Okay. Another option is to suppress the pain, and that's what the world and society wants you to believe. So they are offering you different painkillers, to numb the pain. So the pain is actually not gone. The painkiller just blocks the pain receptors. So the pain is still there, but the brain is not getting the message, right? So, and then you can continue, you push through, and you keep injuring yourself even further without feeling it this time. So it's very important that we address the pain and that we understand that the pain is excess of energy, not lack. Okay, so talking about the blockage of the pain, unless we resolve it and unblock the energy pathways when the energy stabilizes, there's a message for us. So the message, when I was talking about action, comes after the awareness. Sometimes we have to do something physically, like drinking a glass of water, or internally, for example, not submitting ourselves to painful relationship, for example. So there are different levels of the pain, and the situation will act, and it will cause either our body to react or our let's say soul to react and warn us and communicate to us through the pain.
Okay, and then why we say so? It's actually communication, right? That's why we could say that the blessing of pain.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So,
and who is in pain? Also,
that's the subject of the coffee. The blessing. How ridiculous or how controversial that is. You got the pain, and then you also say, "I'm blessed because I have the pain." Right. Yes. So you have to be careful here. The blessing of the pain is when the pain leads you to the point of self-realization. And the point of self-realization is evident, and it can be done in many different ways. So let's say, for example, every time your awareness is heightened or elevated to the point of realizing the cause, 60% of the pain is immediately released. Okay, so and that's the blessing, because the blessing is because we get the message, we use the pathway through which the message came, and then we go out and resolve things. Now, how the mind works, let's say, for example, if you consider this topic, the blessing of pain, the mind who doesn't want to change things, for example, which is the cause of the pain on many levels, eventually on the physical level as well. So the mind doesn't want to change. So the mind can process this. Oh, okay. So the pain is blessing. Okay, so I do nothing. Right? So the pain, we get the pain to do something, right? And the doingness has to be aligned with our nature, and that nature is total benevolence. We are a non-violent being, so every time we're looking at the healing process and our human body, we have to act according to the laws under which the body functions, right? And one of the first laws is benevolence or non-violence. So if we approach the body in a gentle way, if we step out towards healing by recognizing and acknowledging ourselves, being gentle and tender with ourselves, that is the first step towards healing and release of the pain. And the pain, because we have only one physical body, it seems small when you look at the entirety of the things. I'm not sure what the ants would think about that, right? But there's only one head, so only one head hurts. The pain can be multi-layered. It can lead to many levels of ourselves which are lacking awareness and which are asking more awareness. It's basically asking, our soul is asking us to look into something of a much deeper level.
Yeah, so it's so pain is also like a guide, no?
It's a guide. Eventually, they say that pain is your guru, right? Guru from Sanskrit word, gu means darkness, ru means light. So it is somebody or something that leads you from the darkness into light, right? And for people who experienced gurus as physical person, living beings, life with them is extraordinary and it's not easy, because they will cause you the pain, right? But that's the blessing, because with the pain, you shift into the resolving of the pattern which is causing the pain.
You mentioned physical pain. What's going on with the mental pain?
Basically, yes, you can separate pains in different categories, right? And that's for the sake of argument. That is to satisfy the mind, trying to put everything in place. Okay, so we give names to certain things, but the pain, in essence, is basically when we slip from our life path. So our heart, let's say, representation of our being and our soul uniqueness and purpose, let's call it a heart, okay? So our heart wants to go this way, and our mind says, no, go this way, because that's according to the pattern, according to the social functioning, societal functioning, implications. If I follow my heart, then people will abandon me, and there's a million things, right? So then we create an inner rift. So imagine if you have two powerful forces starting to pull one same thing apart, right? And you are that, your body is that, and you'll start feeling the tension and pain. So the inner tension that is created is eventually will cause the pain. So the moment we have this accord or this harmony in the body, the meridian system has to compensate. And you will notice, if you are in energy science or any other science, you will notice that that tension actually is starting to create a compensation. And for us to compensate, meaning we need to stay in balance by force. So we're not staying in balance by nature of being. Okay. So imagine if this planet Earth, if it needs something to prop her up all the time. Okay, planet Earth moves by itself. It doesn't need any energy, no engines apparent. Okay, no fuel needed, right? But it does amazing things, right? So our being, our essence is like that, because we are created by this universe. We are universe matter. You have to understand that. You are universe matter, and this is where your power. This is the source of your power. Okay, I'll come back to that topic. So let's say, for example, if you are now sitting in balance, right? If I start pushing you this way, what are you going to do? You're going to start pushing back. So you're going to start investing the energy into maintaining the upright position, right? And this is the compensation. So you can now transfer that physical explanation to your life. Outside forces of life come to you, and for you to retain balance according to your idea about life, okay, I have to now start investing my life energy into that position. So I have to start pushing back. Let's say, for example, I want to change career, right? And my heart really wants it, okay? But society says, hey, you know, that's crazy. You know, you got this job and it's well paid and you got loans attached to it and all that stuff. Everybody's going to say you're nuts, okay? And what you're going to do, you know, how do you know you're going to succeed and all these things? So the mental process starts going, right? So the heart is pulling this way, right? Everything else, you know, patterns and all these considerations that are given to the outside starting to play, and we start to invest energy towards that, and then eventually we break, the system breaks us, and we basically succumb to the known, the usual aspect, the known failure. We succumb to that because it's easier, right? And then all our life energy that is actually flowing through our meridians and feeding our tissues and cells and everything starts to be invested into that compensation. So I'm surviving socially. I may have a job that is well paid and position, possession, all these things, but I'm internally forever unhappy. Okay, and that creates a huge rift, and people fall sick physically. They fall sick because of that. And this is just one example. There are so many examples of that. Okay, so that is one of the reasons why people experience pain, and that pain is a wake-up call, right? The wake-up call, your mind will process as a warning, and there's an element of fear. There's no fear in being natural. There's no fear in being you. If you ask me my name, I'll tell you my name is Zoran, and I'm not fearful because that is the truth. So why don't we align with our truth, which is in our heart, without any fear, without any nervousness, without any consideration of what society thinks about that and wants us to do about ourselves. I always tell to people, this is your life, this is your body, and you are in that body, nobody else. So and it's a gradual process, you know. You live your life according to certain patterns, and all of a sudden there comes the time in life where you something happens, something triggers, and you awaken to a much larger reality of who you are. And this is basically where things start to crumble, and you shift from the physical pain, because the body is usually fine. Body is fine. If you remove the mind from the body basically resets itself. So you shift from the physicality of the pain to the metaphysical aspect of the pain, because now you see the world different, and sometimes the picture after waking up from that dream is not always pink and flashy, and then people go through the pain of transformation, you know. And I call that stage vulnerable stage, because it is the stage where you have to admit to yourself your vulnerability, and it is exactly in your vulnerability that lies your hidden power. So by opening yourself up and allowing to be vulnerable, you're allowing yourself to shift through much wider, let's say, band of frequency than just staying rigid in seeming balanced and settled life. You know, I have job, I have wife, children, and we have dinner on Sunday, and I have a car, and that's it, right? 30 years after that, you're dead. So
yeah, but there are many people also like without any issues. Like they live like that. They have families. They have a good job. They have, you know, like what do you think? What they should do? You know, like they don't need anything. They don't have
nothing. In Australia, they say don't fix something that's not broke.
Do nothing and wait for the experience, which will bring some pain.
Yes, I'm not saying it's natural to have pain. I've been through so many pains in my life, and I had great lessons from it. And one of the lessons is which is basically I practice all the time when I'm dealing with something. I say, okay, this is the challenge, but I am fine. I am fine.
So who is in pain when there is a pain? Who is in pain?
When you say this is the challenge, but I am fine, there's separation between the outer and inner. Okay, so I'm not identifying anymore with the physicality of this life. Okay, because physicality of this life is impermanent, so you'll pass one way or the other. So then with that safe and healthy distance, you have completely different position from which you're observing it, and more likely from that position you will see so many avenues for the solution.
But for mental pain as well, I didn't finish with my questions. So because it's really important today, you have a lot of different kind of mental pains. For example, you are in pain because you are rejected. Today, like in the schools, you have a lot of
it's natural. Like if you get rejected or you get divorced or you have argument with somebody, of course you are human.
Somebody is rude, for example. Yes, there are so many.
You will have human reaction. You have to allow yourself human reaction. And what happens with the people, for example, in my experience, people would come to me and I ask everybody, tell me the reason why you're here. And they say, I don't know. But you see, something brought them there. And this is something which I respect in the whole process. The person doesn't know or may not be aware why the inner guide or soul brought that person to somebody that will fix it, because there's an inner process which says, look, you need fixing, right? But the personality is not admitting it, And one way of doing it is that there's an emotional state which is called indifference, right? Indifference is when we are unfeeling, when we are numb, okay? And people may argue, well, that's not an emotion. It is emotion. So not having emotion is still an emotion, because it's just a mask for our lack of ability to allow ourselves to go through the pain. So we basically go numb. And physically, I observed what happens is in the physical body, almost exclusively with people like that, I find hormone prostaglandin out of balance, because prostaglandins are they are hormones which are produced by every cell, and they are alarming the body to the pain receptors where the inflammation is in the body. Okay, so let's say, for example, something is painful, so we may not have inflammation in the body physically present per se, right? But there is on energy level. Okay, so we are irritated, life is hurting us and all that, but for us to push through, we have to go numb. Otherwise,
we will not survive.
We will not survive. We may fall apart. Okay, so then we go numb and we clench our fists and teeth and we go like this and we push through, right? But then we then slip into rigid state. And when something is rigid, if you drop it on the floor, it will shatter in a million pieces, right? If something is flexible, if you drop it on the floor, it will bounce back and it will not be broken, okay? So there's a different approach. So flexibility and allowing things versus rigidity and maintaining a supposedly balance, it is the seeming balance, like we're pretending everything's fine, So when people come to me, they say, oh, I don't know, I came to experience this. Okay, I know I've got a lot of work to do because I don't know where to start, or when people give you a couple of sentences, I know by the nature of it that it's the tip of the iceberg, right? So the person cannot even start speaking about where it's painful. So they just give you a general direction. So, it's much harder to work with those people. Why? Because they never allowed themselves vulnerability, because society says if you're vulnerable, if you feel emotions, you are weak,
And also sometimes there's too much pain, right? And
there's too much pain.
handle it. So we have to go there.
We have to go there.
It's a safe place for us.
Especially if the pain is too much pain has been experienced on a childhood level, you know, and we're talking about the very common one is sexual abuse. About 60 to 70% of people experienced sexual abuse in childhood, and there's some shocking statistics about it, you know. So how do you deal with such adult problems when you are child, right? You must suppress so deep on a cell level that, you know, sometimes in your life when you are 30, 40, 50, it flares up into some major disease, you know. So yeah, there are so many aspects of it, but people never allow themselves vulnerability. That's the issue with this thing.
So you said actually flexibility.
Yes.
And another word, I would say acceptance. Actually, they can help us, right, with the pain. If pain is there, and also like we need to be aware and maybe to look at that pain as well. So first it can guide us further.
Yes, it's the acknowledgement. First, you have to acknowledge that you have an issue, right? Secondly, you have to take the ownership on it. Okay, the world hasn't caused this, right? Nobody hurt you. Somehow, we attracted that situation in our life. You know, it is really it's hard truth, but it is what it is, and you have to be careful how you explain this to people, especially the ones who went through some terrible pain. You know, like we have this situation in Gaza, for example, where there's absolute genocide happening. You know, and there's nothing you can do individually on that. You know. So on a collective level, there's a individual karma, but also collective karma. You know, people are going through that pain because there's a reason for it. You know, and it's sometimes when the situations are so extreme, it's difficult to explain it that way. You know, but with the understanding and acceptance, you will shift into a different energy field, and eventually things will stop happening to you, you know. But somehow we attract these things because of our impressions and our energy projections and the way we emit the energy. And it can be linked to the past lives, if you believe that or not, it doesn't matter. Whether you believe it or not, it's there. Okay, we are humans, part of our life. It could be linked to your ancestral karmic patterns, which was brought to you in your DNA, and less likely something for this lifetime, because you are here because of all that thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds and millions of thousands of repetitions of past lives, and that energy has been carried forward. And unless we raise our awareness on the very cause of the issue, and I'm not saying it's something from the past life, you know, doesn't matter. Unless we become aware of it, it won't stop. So this is why the pain is the blessing, because it is guiding us to the source of the issue, right? It is not guiding us to a chemist to buy a set of Panadol, you know. Yeah. It is guiding us
to something much bigger,
through our heart, to something much bigger. And I noticed in my work, when we get to the full awareness of the issue, 80% of things completely get resolved, and all I have to do is just push a couple of acupuncture points or some energy points for body to acknowledge it, and then the process starts. So become aware of the issue, become owner of the issue. That's very important. Right? Then take responsibility for it.
But when we are owners, so we don't like to lose something. So it's also, is it tricky?
Yes,
so
let's say, I'll give you an example. I mean, it's a tricky one. let's say, for example, somebody wants to kill me, somebody wants to hurt me. Okay, so what's my natural reaction?
You'll protect yourself.
Of course, I'm going to fight back. Okay, so my action will cause reaction, right? But my action was reaction on somebody else's action. Then I get entangled in this world of seeming opposites, right? Us, them, you, me, friend, enemy, all that thing. Have a look at the world. That's how it functions at the moment, right? So if I act differently, right? If I become aware of the higher element of myself, okay? If I act according to the higher element of myself, then I come to realization that if somebody wants to hurt me, that's actually not my issue. That's not my problem. It's the problem of that person. Okay? So if somebody is attacking me, and if I'm acting according to my truth, right, then the issue is not mine. So I basically give the issue that was created by the universe, and I give it back to the universe for resolution. So a lot of times, if you just do that, I call it a healthy distance. So you take the issue from yourself, you separate it, and you observe it, right?
Yeah.
It will be resolved.
That's important to know, because when we say I've heard many times, this is like from people with some disease, or my depression, my this, my that.
Taking ownership of it, right? Yeah, because why you taking ownership? Because you lose your identity. People lose their identity. They become lost in life, right? So they have to cling on to something. So yes, my pain, my this, my that.
So not that one.
My medications.
Yeah. Okay, but there's also like one thing, for example, I heard many times in my life, like people in like maybe late 30s or 40s or 50s, they would say, oh, I don't know what's happened now, I'm in the pain, I was so healthy all my life, like why that happened, what's going on, because we are like gathering all that pain, right, like through the life, and then it just bursts in one moment.
Yes, sometimes it's a matter of maturing. Okay. So you mature to resolve the pain. So you were born with that, right? It was always on your path, right? But you were not mature to deal with it. Okay. Let's say, for example, I give you the example of sexual abuse. Okay. So kids can't deal with it, right? Because they're really confused in their mind. Okay. Because the mind shatters when that happens. Okay. Later on in the life, they can't continue, they can't go on, because of this deep suppression. They created a life of suppressions, right? And they lived the life, and they identified themselves with the compensation, which is just a compression, right? And then there comes the point in their life where they cannot go on like this anymore, right? They cannot continue. And then this is the breaking point where they say, oh, everything was fine, and all of a sudden, bang, I've got all this.
Or some other pains through the life, and different hard experiences, right?
So let's say, for example, people don't drink enough water, okay? Drinking water and dehydration, that's not really the cause, right? The cause is rejection of life. So what is water? Water is life, okay? So if you look at the element of water, from water new life sprouts, okay? So people who are not drinking enough water, the real issue here is they are afraid to step into the new. They're afraid to reinvent their life. They are afraid to lose the old me that survived and continued up until now, okay? And of course they are afraid because the society says, no, you can't do it. You are too old. You are too stupid. You are too fat. You are too this. You are too that. Okay, and And the natural aspect of it is basically withdrawal of life. So the soul, which occupies this body temporarily, doesn't have to be in this body. Okay. So the soul will be in this body for two reasons. Okay. First, if we acknowledge the high dimension of ourselves and the connection with the universe, that we are that. Okay, our essence is light. Our essence is universal consciousness, which is manifested like this. Okay, if we have a deep connection with that, right? So that is one reason. Then yes, the soul will stay a long time. Okay, because it's been recognized, and in that acknowledgement and that revelation of divinity within myself, I start to manifest life as per the universe. Okay, and the second one is high purpose. Okay, so they say if you're not spiritual, at least pretend to be spiritual,
Yeah, nice. And there is also like one more thing. When people come to certain age, well, it's like kind of expected to be to have pain or to be sick or to be like in the country where I came from. They would say, okay, I'm like 70 years old. Of course, I'm not okay.
Yeah, they go flat in bed and that's it, right? And
yeah, because they die. Yeah, that's how the life is. That's
or you see people, for example, old people. Not I mean the majority of they wear beige colors.
Yeah, dark colors. They put
themselves or black colors.
Yeah.
They put themselves down because it's the programming from the society. You see, the human body, the way it's designed, it can actually survive average 300 to 400 years. Okay, but look at the life expectancy in today's world. It is very low comparing to the maximum potentiality of the body, right? So we don't give it a chance. That's the problem. So in terms of 300 years, when somebody dies at 80, right? That's like teenager. Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that the purpose of this life is to live forever. It's beyond that point. But life has showed us so many times that we're living in an amazing world which we totally don't understand. We miss the point completely. And we see the tragedy of humanity that is being unfolded as we speak, So there's like 0.00001% of people who are guiding and ruling the rest of 99.999% of the people. And so who and they say, this country, this leader, that. Okay, the problem is in you. The problem is in us because we've given the power. We agreed and succumbed to this false that we of ourselves have got no choice and that we're insignificant. We can't do nothing, right? That's not true because the whole universe is in here as well as in you as we speak. So the process is to uncover it, discover it within you. And a lot of times pains are like that. Look at the collective pain of this humanity right now. We have wars raging, we have this, that, certain organizations or individuals that are owning the resources of this planet, which is also yours and mine and everybody's. Okay, but somebody owns it. Can somebody own sun or the universe? It's ridiculous, right? But humanity is given the power to that, which is wrong. So, and that is the collective pain. All these collective pains are there for people to awaken. There are terrible crimes happening on one side, but the realization is that is not our issue. That is the issue of them, not us. So by awakening into your own power, and the pain is a guidance towards that, you will go beyond the pain.
What's
on
the
individual level and on the collective level.
How do you mean that? Can you explain it more?
Well, it is the part of the healing. Let's say somebody has headache, right? And you find out the body is dehydrated, right? And then you ask, so why don't you drink enough water? Well, I don't feel thirsty. So why don't you feel thirsty? Right? And then we get to the point of what I was saying about the water element, that the person is in the position of fear. Okay? Water element, water implies fear. We are afraid we're going to be absorbed by the power of water, but there is the unification with one. So people are afraid to step into their truth, into their essence. They're afraid to reinvent themselves and live life according to their heart. Okay, so same goes with the humanity. We are loving, feeling benign, non-violent human beings. We are by nature that. Okay, so when we go back to our nature, and that is the non-violent way. You can't produce anything with fighting, with pushing, pressing, and all that. It will just action will cause reaction. Being natural is returning to yourself, okay, and that requires no energy. Just be you, okay, and everything will stop. And basically that's how, on individual level, you can overcome issues, and on the collective level. But the problem is the compensation will, let's say, create some damage, and then it takes time to repair the damage. Same for the body. If the body is damaged, the body has ways to repair itself, but you have to put it in the position of balance, and maintain the balance. So if you are in balance, then give to your body what body is made of. Your body is made of 23 chemical elements, only 23. And 97.5% of your body weight are only 4 elements. Okay? Hydrogen, nitrogen, 3. Hydrogen, nitrogen, and carbon. Okay? And the rest of 2.5% of the body weight are compounds of the 20 chemical elements. They are trace elements. They're in minuscule amounts, but they are needed. So give your body that. Give your body everything that's natural. Give your body plenty of water, good food, relaxation, contemplation. Company is very important. Avoid company of people who are putting you down. Avoid company of people who are lowering your frequency. It's very important. Spend time in the company of people who are giving you hope, who are giving you smile. I don't smile because I'm serious. See, this is a serious subject. So I can't smile. How can I smile?
Smiling now.
Spend time with people who are giving you enthusiasm, who are lifting you up. Okay, even if that is one person per month for 5 minutes, it is enough to break the pattern. Right? So avoid news, avoid all these things that are telling you that you should believe into, and you are not. Stay with your truth, stay with your heart, always, because your heart will win in the end.
Yeah, that's nice.
Heart always wins. There's no question about it, but don't waste your life, don't sacrifice your life because of that. Just listen to it.
Or you can sacrifice if you want to destroy your life.
Yeah, well,
that's for sure.
Yes. So the pain, look, the pain can be acute and chronic. Let's say, for example, you have a headache, right? So you take a Panadol, right? So you're dealing with acute issue, right? But because there's an underlying problem, okay, there's always a chronic problem, you need to address that differently. And usually the chronicle stuff we address by small force, by nudging bit by bit, pushing slowly, pushing slowly, pushing slowly, because it took you a long time of repetitive behavior and patterns to get to that point. So it's so hard to, it's easy to say, change life. Okay, so how do I do this? I made all these relations and commitments and all that, habits. So, the only way I can do this is to drop dead, to disappear. So, but start somewhere, start with yourself first, and do it bit by bit, gradually, step by step, and you will get there. It's very important, because the power of truth is so it's going to change you infinitely and irreversibly, and it's a logarithmic path, so it's not linear or exponential, it's logarithmic. So it takes some time. So if you look at the logarithm curve, it takes some time to lift up, and all of a sudden the curve starts going up, and the more it goes up, the time is shorter. So you can achieve amazing heights and things in your life in a short period of time, but you have to allow time that leads towards that, So I traveled through India, and in my life, I met a lot of enlightened people who are self-realized, and I noticed that, they usually, people follow them and all that, and everybody is interested in that last step, how did you do this? How did you feel? What happened? What happened? What happened? But nobody sees the life of these masters. It was a life of pain and suffering, and it was the life of millions of these steps, and nobody actually can see that all these steps were needed for that last step. Okay, so defocus from the last step, acknowledge your path, acknowledge your life. The most important thing is that you are on the path of self-awareness, and that will lead you, and it will not go backwards. Life always goes forward, even though we go through challenges and situations in our life where we think, I'm stagnating, but life always goes forward, and also to the point where no matter how well you look after your body will fail you one day. It's like your car. You buy Mercedes or Porsche or amazing car, right? And it's so flashy and nice and all that, but it will get to the point where it will fail you, no matter how expensive it is, how well you maintained it, and all that stuff. But that's the physicality of this life. So that's what I'm saying is, if the body can live 300 years, I mean, there are yogis in India who people follow them, and some of them are several hundred years old. There's one who they dig him into the ground, like covered him with earth and all that, as if they buried the person, and they even call a coroner to sign the death certificate, right? And then he stays in there for a number of days, and then they dig him out, and then he comes back to life. There are people that who went beyond their mind, and they can control basically the way things are controlled by the universe. It's called miracle, but you are the miracle in itself. You are just the expression of the miracle, which is the universe. The light, the source.
Yes.
You see, we went a long way because we're talking about the pain.
Yeah, that's okay.
And the pain, ultimately, the pain is there to lead you towards your inner self. That's why it's there. Not because something's wrong with you or your life or whatever.
Nice. So Zoran, let me check if there are if there are any questions. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning that you can comment and you can put your questions in the comment.
So no matter how, whether you're at the beginning of the pain or in the middle of the pain or at some further development of that pain, you must start somewhere. So start somewhere. It doesn't matter, because one step will lead you into another step, and all these steps, they will lead you to the last step. But when you're on the last step, you will realize that in every step you had all steps in there. So every step in your life constitutes all these steps. So that tells you just keep walking, but start somewhere. The worst thing you can do is resignation. People resign, they tell them something, they believe in it, and then they resign and they die.
Yeah,
that's a terrible thing, but that's the world we're living in.
There is one question. Yeah. What other emotions besides perfectionism can cause a headache?
For example, rigidity, mental rigidity, inflexibility, stubbornness. There are different ones. So it depends how your body reacts. So it depends how the inner intelligence decided to communicate to you. That's the thing. So yes, perfectionism is negative in a way because it engages mind, and mind goes into overdrive, right? And that thinking process basically can cause so many headaches. Like we create pressures on ourselves. Everything has to be sterile, tight, tidy. Everybody has to behave in a certain way. There's no flexibility in life. There's no spontaneity and allowing life to unfold the way it is. Like, do I worry about this plant that is bent? Do I try to keep it straight under 90 or leaves under 90 degrees? That you get. The perfectionism is a way of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. There's a level of it, right? So that perfectionism is one way of doing it, but there are many other things why you may have headache.
And it's pretty much individual, right? Yes. It's not always the same. So
yes, correct. I found, for example, but this is general. I'm not saying this is with everybody, but in many cases, the migraines were to do with lack of self-worthiness. So people don't value themselves. True.
Yeah.
And that emotion, I'll give you a bit more. That emotion is on large intestine meridian, and large intestine meridian actually it ends up here. So there are the points, and large intestine meridian goes over your shoulders, neck, and part of your head. So when the meridian is out, then all structures will be out, and then circulation may stop and people get migraines.
Is there also like pain here in that
case? It could be everywhere, but that's one example of it. Self-worthiness, as the meridian suggests, is yang energy, which is the energy of action and doingness, right? So action and doingness requires the return, right? So we're doing something and we are not valuing ourselves, and we're not receiving, let's say, a reciprocal finances on our action, right? And then we slip into this mode of, victim mentality and all that stuff. So it just it's like a domino effect or chain reaction, and then it goes off and affects many parts of life. But the most important things for that was for the people to stand up in their own strength and acknowledge themselves, admit these things to themselves, and then move on with full awareness of their power and value of them as human beings, because they wouldn't be on this planet unless universe wanted it. So just acknowledge that, you are there not because your president wants it, because your society wants it, because you have parents, or because sperm met the egg. You are there because universe wants you to be there exactly like that.
Which means that rejection is not, it's actually our mind.
Yes.
Perception,
yes.
Not real, because we are already accepted.
Yes,
we are here.
Correct. We are rejecting something because of the idea that we have about that thing. And that thing, could be me, is not compliant with the idea that I have about me. And it's just a mental thing. It's a pie in the sky. It is the it is the castle in the sand. It's just a mind construct. Recently, somebody asked me, the person had issues with terrible thoughts, that they were terrible thoughts. And I asked the person, okay, so they are thoughts. Said, yeah, but they're terrible. But they're just the thoughts, Don't action the thoughts. Don't give them energy. Don't give them power. Just observe them, Like you go to cinema and you observe one of these Hollywood movies, I hate them. They're terrible things because they're so predictable, and they serve no value to this humanity.
Yeah, I know.
So I usually fall asleep, but don't action these things. Like your mind is telling you, stupid, go and kill yourself. Or don't action it. It's simple as that. Just pass.
And it will.
It's virtual. It's virtual. It's like observing some content on the Facebook. It's virtual. It's got no value at all. It's just a play of light on some backdrop. That's it.
Good. Okay, so now it's there is no more questions. So, is there anything for the end that you would like to share?
No, unless you ask me.
No. Today I'm in the silence.
No, basically the message here is use the pain as a way of your soul communicating to you. So it is further beyond what people would say your body is screaming at you, right? But why my body is screaming with you, with me? Because my body is a tool for communication. So your soul is communicating to you. So go and explore that. Go right in the middle of it. Get stuck in the middle of it and explore why is it there. Maybe something needs to be shifted. Something needs to be moved, and it's always for your best. It's always for your good, because all these suppressions and things that we were taught and made to do, they brought us to a certain point in life, but we cannot continue on this life of evolution of the soul in this universe with that garbage, with that luggage. We cannot continue like that. That's why we get it, so that we resolve it and we go free. It's not to say that that's the only pain you have, because that may open up another door to another one. But now that we know the way to fix it, it will be much easier, and we can fix so many more things with little effort. But the most important is this first step, that water element. Reinvent yourself, step into your new power, step into yourself, step into the way you are, because the universe wanted you to be like that. Align with that, and then see what happens.
Yes, that's amazing. Well, I enjoyed really today, because we're listening to you, and probably I will repeat this. I will listen again, because there was plenty of good things. And yes, anything else? You gave the last message. In 2 weeks, we are here again on Balkan languages, and in a month, we are again here on English, and with new topics. You can follow us on Moksha transformation page, Moksha Transformation Center page, and also through Zoran Milicic page. and stay blessed.
And stay pain-free.
And maybe you should listen again this, because it's really powerful. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So then somebody needs to press button in order to stop.
Okay, it will be me. Or I'll experience the pain.